Okay, how about that intro? Exciting things. Um, I'm going to be doing another video in a little bit, but first I want to call this a public service announcement or a mini class. I want to just give people um, information about the open meeting law and Zoom. That things get dicey when we're on Zoom. It's a lot of confusion. We've been doing Zoom for somewhere around over 4 years now because COVID hit in 2020. This is 2025. So we're looking at around 5 years that town officials have been using Zoom. They should be experts. They should do their own videos on how to use Zoom. They should writing books. They could do seminars. They're doing Zoom more than a lot of people nowadays. I don't get it. But they don't know how it works. They're missing something. I don't know. I don't know why. But I'm here to talk about attending meetings. Everybody can attend public meetings that are posted. I mean, even if they're not posted, if they're supposed to be a public meeting and it's not posted, then we have an open meeting law complaint. Well, that's not what I'm here to talk about. But Zoom public meetings can be all on Zoom, and that's what we call remote. If somebody is participating remotely, we're usually referring to members of the boards or committees, but it can also mean the people, the public, the general public can go to any meeting on Zoom, okay, and watch the meeting. Oh, and you should keep your mouth shut unless you are raise your hand and the chair of the board invites you to speak, unless you just can't contain yourself. You have to be careful with that because they can kick you out if you act out, but they have to warn you. The open meeting law requires that you be warned. Okay. There are certain exceptions, like if you're breaking the law. Now, the open meeting law it's being readjusted again as we're approaching. I know that the legislature, and I believe the governor is either going to sign it or has signed it, the extension or the new version of the open meeting law as it results to remote participation in public meetings. And it should be seamless to most of us. Just carry on. Don't worry. Some people are all nervous about it. Don't worry about it. It should be almost invisible to everybody. Just carry on like you have. If you have concerns, look it up or send me a message and I'll look it up. And I'll certainly, if there's changes that are in the final version of the law, I'm going to go over them. I'll do a little class on what's changed and what hasn't, so that we can do things the right way. Oh, so nobody has to worry, except town officials just don't. They want to do it their way, and I like to do things the legal way. So this class, I don't want to babble on about stuff, but I just want to. First of all, I got to start out by saying I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm giving my opinion, my experience, and my lay person's understanding of the open meeting law, how I'm addressing it, and also the lay person's understanding and opinion, my channel, my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, not giving legal advice. I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn last night, so I can claim expertise in anything. That's never mind. That's an old Holiday Inn joke for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Zoom and the open meeting law. Attending a meeting on Zoom is the same as attending a meeting in person. Of course, it functions a little bit differently, but you have the same rights to attend a public meeting if you're on Zoom or in person. The thing you got to watch is to know where you're going. The posting of all public meetings has to be done 48 hours in advance of the meeting, not 46 hours, not 28 hours, 48 at minimum. Okay. And it has to be in Townsend. We post things on the internet, on the Townsend page. There's a calendar there. You can look things up. I think there's some meetings that are gonna, I can't remember what meetings are tonight. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Nothing I was overly interested in, but they're there, and they all have, I think they might have Zoom links on them. They should have a Zoom link. They have this nonsense now. They're putting for convenience only. The only, I'm going to get to that in a minute, but on the posting of a meeting, sometimes you have to read it closely to understand what, let me make sure, is this in person or is this remote or both? And if it gives an address and room number, that's where the meeting is going to be held. And the expectation is that you can go to that room and watch the meeting. On occasion, shit happens. And everybody, all the officials, for some reason, one reason or another, can't attend in person. So they end up being attending in remote fashion. They can't just not show up at the meeting. They can't. Somebody has to be there. Doesn't have to be a board member, but the meeting has to be happening on you. It has to at least be on the TV screen or something when you go. I did run into this last fall. I filed an open meeting law complaint against the board, and that wasn't the only complaint I had. I had a couple of other things because they did the whole remote thing. They violated a couple things on the remote thing. I threw in everything but the kitchen sink. Not that bad, but I threw in the concern I had that the meeting had been posted as an in-person meeting. It did have a Zoom link because some members may have been intending to remotely attend, and for the general public to be able to attend the meeting on Zoom, which is pretty standard. And when I showed up at town hall to attend the meeting in person, the only person there was the administrative person for that board. Absolutely everybody was on Zoom. So I filed a complaint about some remote issues. They didn't do roll calls and all that kind of stuff. But I also threw in that, okay, I went there, it was posted as an in-person meeting, and it was completely remote. Except, and the board's response was also, hey, you were able to see this meeting in person, despite, and it was on the screen and it was functional and all that stuff. And so you didn't miss out. And it was being held. Your opportunity to watch the meeting in person in the room that it was posted for still happened. The Attorney General agreed with the town on this. I have no problems with that. I put it in because I felt that it was an issue that had not been dealt with. I don't believe that anybody had filed that issue before. I could be wrong about that. I'd have to look back at when the AGO, the Attorney General's office, responds, makes a determination, they let you know what part of the law they're referring to, and if there's been further other determinations made with the same issue, they give you those references. And I should have thought of I'm not looking it up right now and make you wait. I don't believe that they gave me any references on that issue. I just took them at their word. I was fine with that. I have no issue with that. I am not whining about that particular portion of the open meeting law complaint that I filed, and it was that particular thing was determined not to be a violation. I'm perfectly fine with it. So I just want to let everybody know that if you go to a meeting in person and it turns out the meeting's all remote, the meeting still has to be held in that room, but the Zoom link has to be up. That you have to be able to sit in that room and watch the meeting. If you get to the meeting and there's no sign saying it's remote, there's got to be plus. If the meeting's gone, if it's somewhere else, it's got to be posted on the door to the place where it was supposed to be. We've seen that. In fact, Veronica Kell a couple years ago filed an open meeting law complaint against the Board of Health, and she had a bunch of other complaints part of that, but she did get a determination of a violation because the Board of Health moved the meeting from room 2 to the selectmen's chambers and did not put a note on the door of the building to let people coming to the meeting know that the meeting had moved to a different room in the building. Still got to do that. So these are important little facts. I'm speaking when I do my videos. Sometimes I'm a little spicy or sassy, or people don't like what I have to say. But I am giving my class, when I give a class, like this is a class, I'm talking to town officials too, and I'm not trying to stick it up your nose. I'm trying to just educate you, like pay attention. I mean, I'm not always talking out of my butt, okay? Sometimes my opinion is just that, and I can be wrong. I try to come back and tell people I was wrong about something. Not I don't think I messed up on that, but anyway. So on these issues, I'm letting town officials know this is how you're supposed to conduct yourself. Too, and this is an issue that came up with the attorney general, and we've got this. This is settled law. Okay. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you legal advice. No legal advice coming here. Cindy's opinion and how I've come across the open meeting law and the attorney general's determinations and all that kind of stuff. So that's that. But most of the meetings that are happening, like I went to the FinCom meeting this week, and then I went to the Board of Selectmen the day before. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think there's anything else going on until next week. I don't think. Hope I didn't miss anything good today. I went and paid my excise tax today. Now I am like, okay, gotta pay some other bills now. How am I gonna do that? But anyway, I'm kind of traumatized by my excise tax. I bought a new vehicle last year, so I'm paying. Oh boy. Anyway, that's my whining for the day. So most meetings are dual purpose. The meetings, sometimes all the board members are physically in the room, but more often than not, there's one member or more who's remotely participating. They're on Zoom in the room. They're participating that way. But right now, we're coming up on a lot of financial crises in the town. We've got town meeting coming up. We have an election on April 28th that includes an override question of $625,000 override for whatever they want to spend the money on. That's how they do things in towns, and we just want $625,000 more dollars. But that's, I'll save my editorial on the override for another video. Today I'm talking about open meeting law and Zoom. So more people are attending meetings, both in person and on Zoom. I'm doing dual purpose because we're so close to budget. We are in the middle of budget. I shouldn't say we're close to budget. We're not even close. They don't know what they're doing. Again, my editorial. But I am doing dual purpose. I'm going into the meetings with my laptop, not with another device other than my phone, and logging in on Zoom as well as being there in person, so that I can see who's in the meeting. Not that I'm spying, but I want it because they'll put up spreadsheets on the TV screen, and even the chair can't see who's in the meeting on Zoom. They don't know what's going on. If you're home on Zoom, you can. Or if you're on Zoom yourself, you can see what's going on the other screens. And I wanted to be able to do that, not because I got to see who's in the meeting. I'm not, sometimes it's interesting. Who's paying attention? Where's turnip and grapefruit? And no, you get the joke. Those of you that know who those people are. And there's another one now, I think. But anyway, so we have that. But more and more people are coming. They're interested. Now I'm going to do a little sidebar here and say, when you attend a meeting, when you go into the town hall, usually the big meetings are in the selectmen's chamber. Sometimes they're down in room 2, what have you. You don't have to sign in ever. You don't have to identify yourself. You do not have to give your name. They often want to single me out. They know my name, so they make sure that they say it. It's an intimidation factor. Cindy King is recording. So that's their thing. But that's good. Fine. They want to be jerks like that. They're the ones who look foolish. They think I'm the one that looks foolish because I'm recording meetings. Why are you doing that? You know why. If you're following me, you know why I record meetings. I got to fix the volume. I'm going to fix the volume. I promise. I don't know what's wrong. I probably broke my microphone and I don't even realize it. So anyway, the when you go into a room that they're holding a meeting, and you do not have to say, "Oh, I'm Jane Doe, I'm Turnip Uranus, I'm Jim Smith, John Doe," whatever. You don't have to say anything. Um, and there's no law, there's no requirement. They can't pass one. They cannot make a law that says you have to identify yourself. This is under the First Amendment. There's case law that, again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't pull up every single case law that covers this particular question. But we have the right to assemble. First Amendment has 5 elements. The first one is religion, and I'm not going there. Speech, press, assemble. That's 3. Oh, 4. No, wait. Speech, press. Yeah, speech, press, assemble, and the right to seek a redress of grievances from the government. So you have the right to complain and demand answers. They don't have to answer you necessarily, but you have the right to complain. Free speech, assembly, you can assemble, you can go places. There's nothing in there that says it can be infringed upon. Okay, and press is you can write things down, like you can post on Facebook. But there's no laws. When you get into having to identify yourself, now I believe, I could be wrong. Again, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm certainly not a constitutional lawyer. It's very interesting, though. I believe that the identifying oneself falls under the Fourth Amendment. That's search and seizure. You need probable cause, and you have to be a cop. There's no cops in there seizing your identity. You don't even have to identify yourself to a police officer in Massachusetts unless you're in a vehicle. Again, I'm not giving legal advice. If you're driving a vehicle, you have to identify as driving the vehicle. If you're a passenger, you don't. Sorry, I'm not giving legal advice. It's my opinion, my understanding of things. I'm not giving legal advice. Okay? Keep those disclaimers handy because I'm not. Anyway, but you don't have to identify yourself. You don't. So now let me go to Zoom. Zoom. When you're attending a public meeting, you don't have to identify yourself. That's how it is. Zoom is included in that. Zoom is included in the right to attend a meeting without identifying yourself. They can't keep you from coming in because they don't like your name or because they don't know your name. You do not have to show your face. You don't have to do any of that. I don't want to split hairs over some things. This is my opinion. And again, I'm really, and this time I'm not making any jokes about not being a lawyer. I'm not trying to make any jokes about giving legal advice. This is my opinion. And I could be too restrictive on what I think is okay. I don't know. You can't go in there with profanity. Like, you can't use F-bombs and profanity, and you can be offensive. But putting bad names, bad words, I don't know. There's some things are okay because the First Amendment allows free speech, and you can swear. You can even swear in person in a meeting. You can swear on Zoom. They can't kick you out. These are First Amendment rights. You have the right under the First Amendment to say things, my opinion. And there's case law regarding woman. Where did I get that one? Between attending a meeting, a public meeting. This is important First Amendment law that towns have been advised about. This is why Townsend doesn't have public comment periods, because they don't want people to swear. They don't want to be attacked. This was taken away a few right after there was a case in another town. I think it was Southborough. I think it was my First Amendment lawyer, who won the case. I think that was the one that I'm thinking about. But you can't. I might be wrong. There was another one. There's a couple of ones that are really good ones. But you have free speech if there's public comment period, and a lot of towns, including Townsend, put a kibosh on public comment periods and select board meetings because they don't want to hear from you, and they don't like being criticized or sworn at. You can't decorum. It can't be regulated. Can't regulate decorum. That was I believe it's an SJC, Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court decision. I don't think it went to the SCOTUS, the federal government. I think it was just SJC. I'm not sure, but I know at least it went that far. But it kind of sent shockwaves through the towns, because a lot of towns, including Townsend, passed some crazy law, or selectmen's policy, I should say, that you have to behave yourself. You have to be nice. You can't yell, and they can shut you down based on your opinion. No, that was ruled down. No. They can't stop you from that. They can. It is allowed for them to not allow you to speak at all. You cannot speak without the chair's permission. That is the current law. Okay, that's part of the open meeting law. That is in the open meeting law. I know this. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't read from it and give you the exact wordage, but that is a fact. This includes Zoom. Okay. The Zoom is just an extension of being somewhere in person. And there's no special behavior requirement on Zoom that's different from if you were in person. My opinion, not giving legal advice. This is, there's just not a difference. You don't have to put your video on. You don't have to show your face. We don't pre-register people. You go in, and you don't have to use your own name. You can, some people come in and they're using funny names. They're being funny, just cute. Some people use their first name, last initial. So they might not even be their real name, and they don't have to. There's nobody's checking IDs when you do this. You can put any name. Sometimes I'm in with my initials. I don't do my full name. There's another Cindy King in Townsend, and I've relegated that to her. I'm not Cindy King. If you see Cindy King on there, it's probably not me, unless you see my face and I'm being fully transparent. I don't, and I use either initials or some made up nonsense. I'm just being cute. Or I had maybe sometimes with Zoom, if you do other meetings, I do a lot of other webinars, and I go to different classes on Zoom, and I may, for a number of reasons, use another name or label because sometimes there's privacy on some of these. I do meetings that the people attending want to keep a low profile. And that none of us we all have a right to. You don't have to identify yourself. So, and this goes along with the right to attend meetings, the open meeting law, and then also the First Amendment. Those two, one's federal, and the state. We have a state constitution as well. We have the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights, which backs up the federal Bill of Rights, the First Amendment. So, again, I'm not giving legal advice. I'm giving you pointers. If you want to Google things, please do. But when it comes to Zoom and attending meetings, and you log in, if you say F in the name of a selectman or something, say, and I say fully, if you're saying profane things, I personally would say, maybe they can kick you out. Maybe you shouldn't be there. I don't know. And I might be overstating. I might be wrong they may not be able to restrict you. I don't know the answer. I don't. But if you're saying Jane Doe, Harvey Blowfish, if you're not threatening anyone, or if you don't have a video up or a screen background that is there's a problem with it, like if it's some kind of naked person, those things that can keep you out. Some, yes, obscene materials, they can keep you out. And when it comes to Zoom, there's another thing you have to think about, and that's Zoom is a company, and they have rules about the use of their resources. And I'm not always completely up to date on what it is, because they've been over since COVID. My God, Zoom was changing the rules every other day because there were so many Zoom bombers. And a Zoom bomber is usually someone who just comes into a meeting. They surf the Zoom world and they find meetings that have low security. And Townsend does not want to spend the money on the security. So we have a very low threshold for safety on Zoom. So anybody can get in, and they should be. And honestly, at the level that we're operating, there should not be restrictions to keep townspeople or people who want to attend a public meeting. You don't have to live in Townsend to attend a Zoom meeting in Townsend. You can be in China, perfectly legal. Can't restrict people. It's a public meeting. This is the United States. We still have a constitution. Welcome aboard. So we don't have the highest security. But what a Zoom bomber does is come in to a meeting and then before anybody knows what's happening, they turn on, they come in, they might have a normal looking name. Everything looks fine. Okay. And people are just kind of paying attention to the meeting and that's going on and not what all the people in Zoom are doing. And a Zoom bomber comes in, they have a dark screen. And then all of a sudden, the screen's not dark. And then there's a video that's starting up and it's got sexually explicit material, really obscene material, depending on your description. But I think most people would say this is wrong. No, get this out of here. No, no, no. I don't want to see that. Oh my God. No. And well, they come in and they it's called Zoom bombing. Boo! And then whoever's running the thing is like, what's happening? What's happening? Where's the delete? How do and they're in a panic and they got to find we got to throw these people. What am I doing? I got to find, and sometimes it just takes way too long. And unfortunately, somebody's got to pay attention. And, there's security in my mind. We should have co-hosts, which I think we're fine. We have the board members should be able to remove people and not leave it up to the TCAM people. That's my sidebar on that. But it's ridiculous. But we've had a couple, I know of 2 instances of Zoom bombing. There may have been more. I saw one back, I was still on cable, and I was watching on Channel 9 back then. And it was a select board meeting. What a mess that was. I was putzing around in my house and I heard music come up and I'm like, that music. Because I've seen Zoom bombers other places, but they have this, for some reason, they have like music that would be in a strip joint or something. And I'm like, I know what is that? And I'm watching a selectmen's meeting. They don't usually play music. Like, what is going on? And I saw it and I'm like, oh God, help me. And then I started laughing because, watching, it's not funny, but it's funny when everybody's in a panic trying to, what do we do? And then the Zoom, it went out. And I'm like, okay, what do we do now? So the meeting, I don't know what they did. I don't remember how they handled that. But then there was another one a month ago, I think, the capital planning meeting. A Zoom bomber came in. I was not watching it. I had completely. I wanted to attend that meeting on Zoom, and I forgot. And then I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I went on the Townsend website, and I got to the link, and I was trying because I knew I was already 30 minutes late, and I didn't expect a capital planning meeting to be excessively long, although maybe they are. They should be. They should. I don't know. Anyway, but I was trying to get in, and I couldn't get in. And I said, okay. I was trying to hit the link, and then I usually do go in manually. I go into Zoom and then enter the codes. Those are two different ways you can go into Zoom. And I said, okay, I'm not getting in, and I'm waiting, and I just left the request up. Nothing's happening. I think it said, I don't remember it may have said the host is here and something. I don't know what I put up for my name. I don't remember. Whatever it was, I think because I was trying to just hit the link. Yeah, I don't know what my screen name was in that situation. I don't know what it had been the last time. I don't know. But I never got in, and I'm like, okay. So I was 30 minutes late. So I just chalked it up to they could have canceled the meeting altogether. It might not never have ever happened. Or it's over. The meeting, I missed the whole thing. It was or they sometimes a board doesn't have a quorum and it just kind of dies on the vine or whatever they do. And so I just moved along with my day. And then a couple weeks later, I think somebody told me that there was a Zoom bomber. I'm like, oh, which meeting? Oh, okay. Oh, I know. Oh, shit. And well, this has been a few weeks and they're still pretty traumatized. The town is, I get over it. I mean, you don't have the security. You're not using the facilities like you should be. This is part of life, and it is part of life. I'm sorry to say that if you're running Zoom, particularly the way we're running it, but if you're running a Zoom meeting that's open and we're as a public entity, it's open. You have to be willing to be prepared to get them out. Turn off their video. You can the host, and if you have co-hosts, which they should have, so that either for the selectmen's meetings, either the town administrator or there's also the executive assistant is usually in attendance, or the one of the select board members, or all of the above. All are designated co-hosts. I don't think we need extra contracts. It's like when they say somebody wants to share a screen. Well, when they do that, it's my understand. I haven't hosted a Zoom meeting lately on the cheap, but they may. I believe when you get the screen sharing, you're made a co-host. I'm not. I might be wrong about that. So I'm admitting that I might be wrong about that. But and if you're co-host, if you have control, you have the ability to kick people out. You can't, when you're running a public meeting, you can't just arbitrarily say, Cindy King, I don't want her in here. Get her out. She's pissing me off. Get her out. She's drinking coffee in front of everybody. So what? Let's see. I drink coffee. This is a vent. I don't want to show you. I got dribble. Never mind. My coffee cup. Anyway. So there's that. They can't kick you out. And well, they can kick you out if you're a Zoom bomber. But they can't keep you out and they can't kick you out because of your opinion. If they allowed you to speak, if you're speaking out of turn and they're warning you, the open meeting law allows for being kicked out after a warning. That means they can't kick you out just because you started talking and they just deleted you. Like, wait a minute, what happened? Why was I kicked out? Did I lose internet? What's going on? They have to warn you that your behavior is not allowed, or you're being disruptive. You can't speak without being being allowed to, I mean, it's fairly restrictive on what they can kick you out on. I know back when Veronica Kell was a selectman before, she was shutting me down in meetings, and I really wasn't as well versed as I am right now on the open meeting law. If she pulled that stunt again, I would certainly do what I need to do legally, which would possibly start with an open meeting law complaint and go from there. There may be higher level interventions I would have to make. But in the legal department, I wouldn't like throw a fit in the meeting. I might, but not bad, nothing bad. Anyway, so if you're on Zoom, you cannot be thrown out arbitrarily either. If you're sitting there and you're trying to get into the meeting, they can't throw you out. Now, I want to make something also perfectly clear, that the postings of these meetings, these are public meetings, including the Zoom link. It's a public meeting. It is the town of Townsend. Whether you're in person or on Zoom, it's the town of Townsend who is responsible, who owns the Zoom link. They don't own Zoom. We should probably buy stock in Zoom. It's still a viable thing. Everybody's still doing Zoom. It's probably not a bad investment. I haven't looked at their stock, so I can't give you my advice on that. I do not own Zoom stock. Nope. So if you you can't get kicked out. And what I was trying to say is the Zoom is owned by the town of Townsend. Every now and then, when I'm trying to raise a stink about something, I get this is TCAM. TCAM's not obligated to follow the open meeting law. And it's like, but this is all the open meeting law. The town is responsible for the open meeting law. So this is the town of Townsend. The building behind me is the town hall. That doesn't mean that they own this video. They don't. This is my personal property. But the meetings, whether they're on Zoom is, TCAM is running the Zoom for the town, but they don't have to. Somebody else can run the Zoom. You don't have to be TCAM. The reason TCAM is doing it is because of Channel 9, because they're doing live onto Channel 9, and it's integrated. They're integrating the Zoom, the in-person, the cameras there, and integrating it into the cable access, the PEG access, as they call it, to the shrinking numbers of cable subscribers that we have here in Townsend. I don't know what's happening next on that, but I'll try to keep you posted there. But I just want to let people know that if you get booted from a public meeting or not allowed in, I'm getting tidbits. People are saying they can't get in, they're getting kicked out, or they're just not allowed in for some reason. They can't get logged in. Now, I know sometimes it's a technicality. You just don't know the technology. You need to figure that out. But if people are not being allowed in because somebody doesn't like your name, in my opinion, that is an open meeting law complaint, in my opinion. Not giving you legal advice, but I would consider myself, if it happened to me, and I knew that that's what was happening, I would file I filed them periodically, and they've been almost on their best behavior. But I would file myself an open meeting law complaint if I was not allowed into a meeting because it was me, or because they didn't know who it was. If they were unclear, for some, I don't know what reason they would choose not to let me in. I haven't had it happen. I've been not let into things, but I just don't know why. And I wasn't suspicious really. Sometimes I found out I've been all in a pissy mood because I couldn't get into a meeting. And then I later found out that they canceled the meeting. Or the internet was down in town hall. These things happen. And for that reason, the Zoom is not a mandatory event. Unless part of the board is on Zoom, then they have to cancel meetings if things go down. And if they take the Zoom down, they have to cancel the meeting, by the way, if it's posted. They have to consider, no, I'm backing up. Back up. Timeout. Nope, wrong. I'm wrong. There's if it's all remote, they have to meet the quorum rules. But that's a whole nother class. I'm not going to go there. But internet going down doesn't cancel meetings unless they lose their quorum. A quorum of the meeting is enough. The majority of the board members have to be in the meeting in some way, and if they lose the quorum, they can't. They have to cancel the meeting and reschedule it. That's all. So anyway, but I came on here to talk about Zoom, the open meeting law, and trying to stay as basic as I can. I really didn't expect to talk this long, but I talk a lot. So, but I want to make sure people know that they have the right to attend meetings and you have the right to attend on Zoom. It is a town-owned enterprise. So if they don't let you in on the Zoom meeting, it's to me, it's a violation of the open meeting law. It's just my own opinion. I don't care what the posting says about convenience or what have you. It's a remote meeting. I don't care. If you're trying to attend a meeting that is on Zoom and they're not letting you in, my question would be, is there a meeting? But I maybe try, if you log in again, in my opinion, this is what I try. If I have trouble getting in, I wait a minute or two. Maybe I'll take another device and get on and use a different name. And then if I got in, but then if I try the other name again and I still can't get in, I have not filed an open meeting law complaint on this issue, but I'm hearing that it's happening. I don't know that it's because it depends on, I don't know. Sometimes there's technical glitches. Sometimes meetings are canceled. I don't want to make opinions on the little tidbits I hear because sometimes it's just operator error that maybe you're just making a mistake. I don't know. But to file an open meeting law complaint, you require a little bit of evidence. You have to do something here. I don't know. Maybe record your attempts. So I like to document things. The other thing is you can record meetings on Zoom. The Zoom record link, GCAM will not allow you to do that. I have not filed a complaint on that. I was started to, and I just abandoned it. I don't know what the status would be. But you can always, I haven't done it. Because I find more technical crap, but I put my phone up. You can't even see. Can you see my phone? Yeah, I can put my phone up to a screen. But one thing, when I have done it a little bit just to get, sometimes I just want to get part of a meeting or I want to get just somebody's picture. And, sometimes my screen is dirty. You can't see that now because as long as my camera lens is clean. But then the glass is reflective. So I've got all this reflection happening. It's for me, it's just a mess. But you can, particularly if you want it for your own purposes. Usually if I'm recording something, I want to reuse the content on my YouTube channel. But if you're just interested in for your own purposes, then whatever. You don't have to have a reason. They ask this stuff at the beginning of the meeting, but there's conflict based on what I've been told. I don't know. The open meeting law says the chair, supposed to notify the chair that you're recording, but the First Amendment doesn't have that provision. You can record anything you want, practically, and you don't need anyone's permission. You don't need to notify anybody. First Amendment. But that's my opinion, and that's what I've been told, and I don't know how this would fly if you challenged or somebody challenged you. Just remember, I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm just giving you thoughts to ponder. I'm giving you my opinion. So I just want to let people know that attending a meeting on Zoom is the same as attending a meeting in person. You don't have any less rights. Okay? You might even have more rights because, well, you could attend a meeting in person and put a paper bag over your head. That way nobody knows you're there. I don't know. But you don't have to turn on your video. You don't have to have a real name. You can do whatever you want on Zoom, and as long as it's not obscene material, that's where I think there is no argument. I think that between the rules of Zoom. Oh, and if you do get kicked out of a meeting, if you're actually kicked out, depending on which button they push, if you get kicked out of a Zoom, some of you may already know this if you've attended other meetings, and sometimes it happens accidentally. I question that here in Townsend, but it can happen accidentally, and it does. Co-hosts are trying to figure out what they're doing on their keyboard, and the next thing you know, you're kicked out of a meeting. If you are actually kicked out of a meeting, sorry, I'm looking at my messages. If you're actually kicked out of a meeting, you're most likely kicked out of Zoom, or you're kicked out of that meeting for 24 hours. Now, we don't have we're not using an ongoing Zoom link. So you can't get back into that meeting using either your credentials or the same IP. I think you might be able to get back in with a different device under a different name. But I think it depends on your electronics being connected. I know I'm Apple all the way. So I've got the laptop, I've got the iPhone, I've got the iPad. I'm not sure. I've not been kicked out. I got kicked out of something 5 years ago. It was an accident. The host of a meeting I was attending threw me out accidentally. I was like whining about it for months, but it was an error. They thought, because when you're watching on Zoom and you've got the squares, the Brady Bunch squares or Hollywood squares, whatever you're looking at, and the host will take their cursor and they'll click on you on a square, but if sometimes the squares move around, and if they're too quick, they're on autopilot and they're gonna kick. I'm gonna hit this square and I'm gonna kick them out right now. Well, if they're too fast, they can't stop themselves. They could hit the wrong square and kick out the wrong person. I was even co-hosting, I think, and I got kicked out. I'm like, what are you doing? But I'm like, oh, so now I'm out of this thing till tomorrow. Great. See ya. So that was fine. I was really took it personal. Of course I did. I'm not so picky now. It happens. Don't let Townsend do it because I will be fit to be tied. But I just want to let people know that you have the same rights of attending a in-person meeting as you do on Zoom and vice versa. And I'm not trying to tell people what to do. Again, I'm not giving legal advice. But if sometimes things are questionable, so if you want to file an open meeting law complaint because you're improperly treated on Zoom, I'm going to give you the link. I'm going to put a link to the forum. I might even just put a link. I don't know what I'm going to put in the description, but look in the description. I'm going to at least put the form. And when you look at the form to file it, you have to use the form. This is state thing now, a state law. You have to use the open meeting law complaint form. You can't type it up on a piece of paper. You can't just go into Word and type away. You have to use the form. So in the page 1 of the form has the instructions for you, the complainant, as well as the board or committee that receives the complaint. And it gives you who's responsible for what, when, and how, and where, and timelines, and all this other stuff. And you have to follow this. Everybody does. It's a lot of times boards like Townsend, they just don't want to read it. They do what they want. I still got an open meeting law complaint that nobody's responded to in 2 months. I'm going to do a video on that shortly. I was going to do it today. I don't know. It's getting late. We'll see. So, and on the Attorney General's website is there are a number of other links on the Attorney General's website that show the law guidelines. I don't like the guidelines because I think it's poorly written, and I think it leads some people to misunderstand things. I like to read either the CMR, um, the regulation 940 CMR something. I can't remember 40. I could be wrong. No, that's 40, 940. It's 940 CMR something. But 940 CMR talks about the open meeting law. And Master General Law, I think it's 30A is the open meeting law. Could be wrong. But the link, I'll put the link there for the open meeting law complaint form, or I'll just put you to the open government portion of the Attorney General's website on the state page, the state website. And you can look around. I suggest people don't just be angry at the town or any town and just be pissed off. And I'm going to file an open meeting law complaint because I don't like what happened at this meeting. Slow down. There's a lot of people that are trying to write that are concerns about the open meeting law. And having a bunch of open meeting law complaints that don't really carry any weight, that are not, they're not violations, bogs down the system. I'm not trying to keep people from filing a complaint, but look over the law before you just go running off angry. Read the law and see if what you're complaining about is spoken about in the open meeting law. And you can look at open meeting law determinations. That's also on the Attorney General's page, and see what other people have done. Like if I write my filings, my open meeting law complaints that I've submitted, and there's been an Attorney General determination, they're on the Attorney General's website, and you can see what I did or what they spotted. You don't see mine, although you can do a public records request and get the things I've submitted. You can even ask me for them. I don't care. But you can see the Attorney General writes a very professional and very specific determination when they make one, whether it's for you or against you. And you can see what other people have filed complaints about and what the Attorney General said happened. And I think lately it's been more people are filing frivolous ones, and I'm saddened by that because there are some serious problems with boards and committees not following the law, and I'd like to see the Attorney General be working hard for us. And it's hard when they're bogged down by frivolous complaints. So you can remain calm and really look up to see, are you making a complaint about something that's really a violation? So that's all. That's my 2 cents about, think about it. I'm not trying to discourage open meeting law complaints, and I'm not trying to encourage open meeting law complaints. But if you got one, you got one. If you don't, you don't. And there's plenty of ways to seek a redress of grievances from your government outside of the open meeting law. There's other ways to do it. So anyway, that's my story for today. I've babbled on about Zoom and the open meeting law, but I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed a little bit. I like to educate people somewhat to save a lot of aggravation. And yeah, so I'm going to end here. We're still under an hour. I kept it more reasonable than some of my little presentations. So have a good rest of your day, or maybe there's another meeting or another video you can watch. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe so you can get and hit the notification bell. Also, I really appreciate it if you hit the like button and leave a comment, or you can comment on other people's comments. I do read the comments, so please give me your 2 cents about this video or any of my other ones. Share. There's a share button below that you can share this with your friends, or you can hit a copy. You could share and then just send it off to Facebook or something else, or copy the link and send it off to anywhere. And you can email it to people. Hey, look at this crazy woman telling us about Zoom meetings. She talked almost an hour about Zoom meetings. Holy cow. But okay, that's my story today. So yeah, if you hit all these buttons on my page and sign up and things, it helps. It helps with the algorithm, whatever. I don't know how that works, but it helps. And it helps people, other people, to see these videos and see what's going on in this crazy place and get some of the same information that I'm trying to give out. Is this video um, really applies to anybody in Massachusetts and maybe even other states, but I'm speaking primarily in Massachusetts, and different states have slightly different rules. So, but any community from P-Town to Pittsfield, it's applicable. So anyway, okay, hope this has been informative for everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful rest. Bye.